We're going to be checking out the Galaxy S24 FE, guys. You guys know I really like collecting the FE devices. I think they're pretty solid devices, especially when they go, on sale in the used refurbished marketplace when the price drops. This one is $650, so it's kind of expensive. Let's check it out. This is the 128 gig and 8 gigabyte of RAM version as well here. So I got this kind of like mint color as well too, which I think looks pretty solid. And that's pretty much it for the unboxing experience. We get the SIM tool and just the Type-C to Type-C cable. Alright, and this is what we came here for. Let's get a really nice peel going here. And boom, there we are. Let's go over the hardware real quick. There's not really too much that has changed with the FE model this year. So we still do have the pretty much the same design as the S23 FE. It's a glass and metal design. It's IP68 dust and water resistant. We got the aluminum frame here, and yeah, it pretty much feels the same. Now it is a much bigger phone at 6.7 inches, and you definitely notice that. It kind of reminds me of basically like a S24 Plus Lite edition, because it feels like a stripped back S24 Plus. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the hardware. There's nothing really changed. It is very kind of sharp on the edges here, but still it's not uncomfortable to hold. It still curves. But yeah, overall design wise, it still looks pretty good, but you do have quite a bit of bezel up front as well too, and this is the same thing we had with the Galaxy S23 FE, which is funny because the S21 FE had much slimmer bezels, had a much slimmer screen to body ratio here. And yeah, so I've been looking at you guys' comments and stuff like that, and does it make the device feel cheap, or does it make it look kind of cheap? Kinda. It kind of reminds you of like those A series Samsung phones. So I'm not sure why Samsung, well, we know why. They don't want this model to be close to the premium models like the S24 Plus and stuff like that. So they have to strip it back a little bit. But yeah, as far as the screen goes, yeah, it does make it kind of look like a little bit cheap. It's not a premium flagship device, but the display itself is fine here. We have a dynamic AMOLED, like I said, it's bigger at 6.7 inches, and then we also do have a 1080p resolution on here, 385 for the PPI. This one actually goes up to 1900 nits peak brightness, so it gets pretty bright in direct sunlight, which is something that I really like. So very bright display, so that's a pretty decent upgrade in that department. But everything else is still the same, still HDR10 plus. We still have 120 hertz on here. So yeah, so in that regard, the display, it is, it's a somewhat decent panel. Alright, so this year Samsung decided to go with the Exynos processor this year. So now we have the Exynos 2400e, and then we also do have 128 gigs, and then we also have 8 gigs of RAM on here as well, running Android 14 One UI 6.1. Alright, so let's see the scores and how they compare. So we got 2074 here, so this is a pretty decent score actually for the single core, and then also for the multi-core we got 5611, which puts it on par with, I guess, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 here. Yeah, so it puts it on par with that, with like a S23 series. So really not bad for the Geekbench score. I'm really curious to see what the 3D Mark will look like in overall long-term gaming performance. As far as playing games, PUBG runs pretty well on this device. We're able to play at Smooth Extreme Plus, which is really nice. So we get those really fast frame rates. And so far I haven't had an issue with this phone as far as speed. And overall, just navigating the UI and everything has been very, very smooth. I haven't had really any heating problems as well too, even though I've been, running benchmarks and stuff like that. I've been taking pictures and stuff. Have not had any hiccups so far with this. So again, I'm not the biggest fan of Samsung's Exynos processors, especially in the past. This is the most, like, I rarely get the mess with the Exynos processors because they don't really sell them over here in the United States, at least on like the flagship models and stuff over here. But being able to play around with this processor, it seems perfectly fine to me. I don't really have an issue with it. Would I have preferred a, Snapdragon chipset in here? Yeah, but, so far I don't really have an issue with this in the real world use so far. But we'll see as we continue testing this throughout the week. Alright, so let's talk about the cameras on here. Not much has changed with the cameras this year from the S23FE, which we'll do a comparison. But 50 megapixel standard on here, you have 30 times zoom on here. You have an 8 megapixel telephoto that does the 3 times optical zoom. 12 megapixel ultra wide, we can shoot in 8K 30. We also have a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. And yeah, the photos came out pretty similar to the S23FE. I noticed that the overall colors weren't as, super colorful. I think they're a little bit closer to being more accurate compared to that phone. Again, we will do that comparison. But overall, the shots look pretty good. Just with the short time I was looking at it, I really didn't see anything that looked bad on here. Video also was pretty solid on here as well too. Overall, decent video too, as you guys could see. And yeah, I don't have any issues with the camera. I think anybody who takes pictures with this phone won't be upset. You get a pretty decent shooter with this device. So as far as the other little bells and whistles and stuff like that, Samsung desktop support is on here as well too. We also do have a fingerprint scanner, which is optical, and it works, but you definitely could tell the difference between this one and the ultrasonic ones. But this does work, and you also can take advantage of face unlock. Alright, so you do have on here stereo speakers here. We'll go ahead and check these out at max volume. So the overall speakers sound pretty good. So watching YouTube videos, listening to music on here sounds pretty good for the most part. I would have to compare it to some other speakers, but overall good bass, overall decent sound profile here. Alright, so I'm really interested in the battery life on this phone, especially with this Exynos processor. So it's got a 4,700 milliamp hour battery on here. You also do have 25 watt charging. You have wireless charging at 15 watts, and then we also have reverse wireless charging on board. And we should get some pretty good battery life on this phone, considering if this Exynos processor is good. Just me messing with it and looking at how it's been draining and stuff like that. It's been draining pretty normally, so it looks like it's an all-day phone. But again, you gotta wait and see, for the phone to learn your usage and stuff like that. But just looking at it, I haven't seen anything concerning with the battery life. So yeah, so overall, the S24FE here is overall a very interesting phone, but I'm gonna compare it to some other phones so you guys can kind of make your decision on whether you want to go with this phone, because a lot of this type of phone is always on carriers and always having carrier deals. So a lot of people get this type of phone, like the S23FE, really popular in carrier deals. But that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.